Hello, hello, hello.
Yeah, I think recurrence means something that repeats itself, that occurs repeatedly.
So, okay, where is your friends? Okay, so okay, if we don't know what is recurrence, there is no problem. We will learn from the basic things. So, before going into the recurrence part, let us try to see some problem. Why do we even try to solve recurrence? Can you at least someone say that if they can see my screen or not?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, okay. So
Yeah, I
hello.
got disconnected in between. Ma'am, did you said anything after?
Actually, so I was saying that we will learn how to solve recurrence using induction, and we will first for this we will first learn what is actually recurrence relation. But before going into that thing, let us first try to see some problem, because throughout the process, what we are learning that we are learning how to attack some problem, right? So this is not the agenda to know that the solution of some problem. First you will see some problem, then you need some tools. With that you will attack that problem and then solve this. So recurrence is one of the biggest hammer. So how can you attack a counting problem? So here we have that problem that how many 01 strings of length n are there with no consecutive zeros. So the point is, you have suppose some string here x1 x2 xn, and the entries can be either 0 or 1. Now you have to count that how many strings are there, so that there is no consecutive zeros. So any approach, how can you solve this problem? Now the problem statement is clear to you. So yeah, I hope the problem statement is clear. So how can you basically attack this problem? That you have a string of length n, the entries can be either 0 or 1, and you have to count how many strings actually are there of length n such that there is no consecutive zeros. So suppose Tn denotes the number of string with that property, that number of strings of length n with no consecutive zeros. So what will be T1? I think you can say this. What is T1? Anyone?
Two.
Right. So T1 can be either 0 or 1. So there is two string. So T1 is 2. What is T2? T2 is either 0 1
Three.
or 1 0. Yeah, 3. So
Three.
T2 will be 3. But this seems easy. But this is not really practical, that how do we calculate actually larger and larger n, right? So how can you actually calculate Tn for some general n? Uh, any suggestion? Any kind of suggestion is welcome.
By observing the patterns for T of 1, T of 2, and T of 3.
Okay. Actually, this is very good observation, observing the pattern. Okay. So here, since we are studying the recurrence relation, let us try to see uh, if we can form some recurrence relation. So basically, when you were studying the induction, you have seen that what was basically inductive hypothesis. Inductive hypothesis was some for some n, you assume that result is true, and then you using that result to prove that thing for some bigger n, right? This is basically our induction process. This is induction hypothesis, and this is our inductive step. So here, suppose someone magically gives you what is T1, what is T2, what is Tn minus 1. If someone gives that, provides that results to you, then can you find Tn? Can you find Tn? Yeah, actually then we can
Minus
find
1 plus 1, I
Yes.
think.
Yes.
come
T
again.
n minus 1 plus 1.
Tn minus 1 plus
T of n.
can you say
I
again?
think the T of n will be the sum of the two previous consecutive
Okay,
bits
okay, okay, okay. Very
or
good,
the
very good.
previous result.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So you got this. Okay. So, okay, let us explain a little bit more. So suppose our string was x1, x2, dot, 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 xn. And the entries can be either 0 or 1. So xn can be either 0 or 1. So let us divide the bigger problem in some smaller chunk. So the case 1, when you have put it that xn equal to 1, and here we make case 2 where you have put it that xn equal to 0. Now when you have put it already that xn equal to 1, then your strings looks like that, xn minus 1, and here you have 1. Now if you can somehow calculate the number of strings, 01 strings with no consecutive zeros of length n minus 1, then you are done because the last bit was n. So here Tn is Tn is nothing but counting T of n minus 1. Anyone have any problem with that part? Uh, anyone if have any problem, you can ask.
No, ma'am. It's
Okay,
okay.
okay, okay, fine. So here the thing look like that. Now what can be x n minus 1? Now x n minus 1, can you put here 0?
No.
Exactly. We cannot put here 0 because the last term is already 0. So this term, you cannot put here 0. X n minus 1 has to be 1. So here you have to calculate this part, right? The part with length n minus 2. So for case 2, Tn is basically calculating T of n minus 2. So for case 1, we get that Tn equals to Tn minus 1, and for case 2, we get that Tn equal to n minus 2. Now that xn can be either 0 or 1. So our final Tn will be addition of these two cases because we have break this problem into two parts. So Tn will be Tn minus 1 plus Tn minus 2 with the base case T1 equal to 2 and T2 equals to 3. This is for all n greater than equal to, okay, let us put here 3. So this is our complete recurrence. Can you see here, or this is just 2 below?
Ma'am, will you explain again how you got that in Tn minus 2?
Okay, so look, first suppose we have started from that string of length n. Now in the nth place, nth bit, you can put either 0 or 1. So in one case you have put it here 1, and in the second case you have put it here 0. Now we are looking at the case when the last bit you already have made that last bit 0. Now if the last bit is 0, can the bit before it be again 0? Because here what you are doing, you are calculating the number of strings such that no two consecutive bit is 0. So if the last bit is 0, the bit just before that cannot be 0, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So you are left with one option because you have to put here 1, right? So you have to fix basically these two positions. Once you have put it here 0, then you have to put here 1. You have no option, right? So this is 1 0. Now when you have put it 1 and 0, then you are left with a string of length n minus 2. So the number of string with no consecutive 0, you have to calculate here in this part. Once you have calculated the string with number of string with no consecutive 0, this is same as calculating the number of string in the whole length, at least for this case, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So and also why we are adding, I think This should be clear because one case is once like you when you are just calculating once calculating some string you have got for putting 0 and some string you got putting the last bit 1, and the total number will be just addition of these two things, right? So here Tn equals to Tn minus 1 plus Tn minus 2, and whenever you are writing some expression of on n, then you have to give the base case, because without the base case this thing is again meaningless. Also here note that if I change the base case, so suppose I kept that same recurrence relation and I have changed the base case, so then this becomes actually different problem. So here again base case is important, so put the base case, then put the relation here, and this is our final recurrence relation. uh, is this clear till now?
Why it is addition?
Okay.
And ma'am, why
Yes,
will
cases
the
are
problem
clear.
change? The base case has changed.
Come again. I cannot hear the second one. I hear that why this is addition. I can hear that.
Ma'am, why will the problem change if the base case has changed?
Okay, okay. If the base case changed, why is the problem changed, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, okay, okay. So actually, I think you can verify it by yourself. So we are talking about here the problem. We are talking about some particular problem. You got here the for 1 you got here 2, and for 2 you got here 3, right? Now suppose somehow I am putting here T1 equals to 1. Now if I have put that T1 equal to 1, this is
Okay,
definitely
okay, this I understood. I thought base case change means instead of T1 and 2, we take T of something else.
no,
Like,
no, 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 no. That base
okay.
case condition, but yeah, and that addition thing. Okay, let us go into the addition thing. Okay, so why we are adding these two things, right? Someone is asking about that. So here, what you are doing that once you have put it xn equal to 1, and once you have put it xn equal to 0. Now putting xn equal to 1, you have calculated the number of strings. So you got some quantity here. Suppose the quantity is m1. You have calculated the whole string. And now putting xn equals to 0, again you have calculated the possible number of string. The string number of string possibly is m2. So what will be the total number? This class plus this case, right? m1 plus m2. This should be like this. Can you go with any one of this? Or you should multiply this? What should it be like that? Now, how should it look like? Is this not clear? Hello? Who was asking? Where is he? Anyone?
Yeah, ma'am, it's clear.
You were asking?
No, no.
I
I
don't
think
know.
someone else has asked.
Priyovrata Mandala.
Yeah, it's clear, ma'am.
Okay, okay. And actually, who was asking? He's not here, I think. Okay, okay. Okay, let's move forward. Now, let us try to see some other problem, and which is same as before. And these problems are actually interesting. So here you have a 2 cross n grids. So 2 cross n grids means grid like that. Okay, this is very bad grid. Okay, so you have something like that, and you have to tile that things using a tiles like that, and you have to count how many ways you can do it. So here again, let us assume that Tn denotes the number of ways of tilings. So what will be T1? T1 is basically nothing but a n cross 1 grid. So n cross 1 grid means no, sorry. T 2 cross 1 grid. So T1 is looking like that. So for tiling this, you can use only one tiles, and this you have to put the tiles in like vertically, and this is only one way to do that. So T1 is 1, and T2 is basically the grid looks like this. So what should be T2?
Two. It is two.
Right. Thank you. So T2 is 2. So we can put the tiles horizontally or vertically. These two ways, right? So T2 is 2. Now how we attack this problem for large n? So can we apply that idea of previous problem? We can do like that.
So we can either use the tile horizontally or vertically, and
Right.
in these two cases, and so if we place it horizontally, then for the remaining we calculate the number of tilings for each case and then add them up.
Right. So yeah, very good. So here again we will try to divide that problem in the smaller cases. So suppose you have started the tilings from here. So you have a tiles like that. So what you can do that, one way you can do it put vertically, and the another way you can put it horizontally. So suppose you have put it the tiles vertically. So you have tiles that way. So what it remains? It remains the tilings. How many ways you can tiles this portion? This portion is nothing but T n minus 1. So for the first case, you get T n minus 1. Now what is the second case? This is one case when you have put the tiles vertically. The second case will be like that. Again, you have the grid, but now you don't want to put the tiles vertically. So if you have put that thing horizontally, so this is one tiles. Now once you have put it one tiles here, then you have to put another tiles here, because then you cannot put one tiles horizontally vertically here, right? So this is one way. So what we have left here? We have left here n minus 2 thing. So T n minus 2. So in total, that should be T n minus 1 plus T n minus 2. This is our recurrence relation with base case T1 equal to 1 and T2 equal to 2. So you can see that recurrence thing is similar to the previous problem, but the base case is different here. Here T1 is 1 and T2 is 2. Now, anyone have any problem with this, like the whole thing? You can ask. So actually how we are forming recurrence, that should be clear, because this is very basic problem.
Hello.
Yeah. Hello. Hello.
Distinct D2 should be 4, right?
Which one? Which one? Hello.
If we distinct cases, then T2 will be 4, right?
T2 will be 4. Why?
Vertically 2 and horizontally 2.
No. Look, T2 here you have 2 cos 2 grid. This is clear, right? So how many ways? Actually here you are not calculating the number of tiles. You are calculating the number of ways we can tiles it. Okay, don't forget this. So one way to tiles here, to put a tile in this way. If you are putting a tile in this way, then, and another way to do this and this. So this is one way and this is another way. This is 2. Is this clear?
Okay. Yes, clear.
Yeah. Okay. So I hope these two problem is clear. And these two problem is basically when we are just looking at some counting problem, how we are like approaching to find out some recurrence relation. So you have to come up with some recurrence relation. Now, once you are like coming up with some recurrence relation, you are basically one step forward to solving that problem. And here for the third problem, I am exactly not going to say the problem here. So actually I wanted to say here that we have a very interesting problem, that Tower of Hanoi problem. I think some of your friends already know that problem, and if you don't know, don't worry, just try to Google that problem, and if I have time, that at the end of this class I will try to introduce this problem and try to find out the recurrence by yourself. Try to find out the recurrence relation by yourself of that problem, that Tower of Hanoi problem. If you just Google search, you will get this.
Recurrence meaning the relationship between
Yeah.
step.
That recurrence relation. Sorry, I should have write here precisely. Sorry. Okay, so this is fine. So this is a problem. So this problem has actually a very big statement. So if I get time, I will explain you. And this is very popular problem. Just search in the Google, you will get that problem, and try to understand that problem and try to come up with the recurrence by yourself. So we have seen actually three problem, and not three, actually two problem, and how to come up with that recurrence relation of that problem. We have seen this. So what is actually recurrence? So actually the definition is like nothing but sequence or a multidimensional array of values. Once one or more initial terms are given, each further terms of the sequence or array is identified as a function of the preceding terms. So here what we were doing till now. So you were given with some initial terms, and then you define the further terms of the sequence or the array as a function of the preceding terms. So what you were doing, you were just like defining Tn with some previous terms. So Tn minus 1, Tn minus 2, or something else that that terms are appears before Tn, right? So you want to express Tn in terms of the terms that appeared before Tn, and also you want to give some initial things. So in that initial thing, maybe that T1 or that maybe T100, that doesn't matter, that is different. So you want to define some base case, and you from there you will proceed to solve that recurrence relation. Now in computer science world, recurrence is very important, because in the algorithmic world and in many more area, we actually use recurrence to solve many big chunk of problem, and this is a big hammer to solve problem. Now we have seen so how we can try to come up with some recurrence. Let us try to see how to solve recurrence, because coming up with recurrence is actually not a way that it's going to work. So you have to solve this problem anyway. So how you will solve that recurrence problem? Okay, there are many techniques. With that you can solve recurrence, but today we will learn just one technique. Okay, why it's not written?
Ma'am, before going into the solving of recurrence, can you just tell what do you mean by the multidimensional array of values in the definition?
Sure. So yeah, multidimensional array means, here I should mention that recurrence we have already seen, that recurrence relation we have already seen, that are linear recurrence. There are basically many more type of recurrence. Can I write here anyway? Yeah, I can write here. So yeah, so there are do you know what is array? Array is basically that like kind of sequence thing. So you are,
Yes. That.
yeah. So multi-dimensional array means that things becomes like that, but this is not actually exactly what we need here. You may not worry about that thing, but suppose the recurrence we have seen here, the recurrence can be in this way: tn minus 1 plus some constant b, tn minus 2, and some something that here a and b are constant. So this type of recurrence, what you see, that this is a linear recurrence, right? Because this is linear. So I think you guys don't have any problem with linear. This is a linear recurrence. Do you see that?
Yes.
Yeah. So instead of recurrence things, sometimes it may happen that, okay, this is one thing, linear. There are something like that, Tn equals to, suppose, T n minus 1 into T n minus 2. Here we are multiplying two terms. So this is clearly not linear, right? The second thing we will say non-linear. Now, of course, in this case, you are not going to store this thing in a array pattern or something like that. This is linear, this is non-linear, and we have another thing. I don't know where should I write that, but that is basically exponential. That exponential things look like that. Tn equals to n into, suppose, t n minus 1. Yeah, this is sufficient, I think. So you can see that here the term I have multiplied here, this is n, right? And here the term I have multiplied here, this is constant. And here I have actually multiplied two functions, like two term of our recurrence relation. So this is linear, this is non-linear, and this is exponential recurrence. We will when we will go forward, you will see gradually that how to solve that different kind of recurrence, and where they comes from, what they mean, and many more things. And also look here, we are trying to come up with recurrence that depends only on n, right? Hello?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, so sometimes there may be some different problem, or many more difficult problem, or many more practical things. So where you may come up with some more complicated relation. So that's why we actually keep that thing in the definition, that multi-dimensional array of values. But and if for now you are clear with that thing, that what do we mean by sequence, or how, actually for that part, if you are sure with this, I think that is sufficient for our purpose. Am I clear?
Yeah. Okay.
This is fine. Okay. So yeah, you will. So when you will study more with that recurrence thing, I think you will gradually understand, because introducing this thing is not going to be helpful for us in this part. Okay. And I hope that thing I actually missed, that there are three types of recurrence we are going to see here, and I should mention that. And I hope you guys got this, that one thing is linear, one is non-linear, and one is exponential. Do you guys have any problem here? Okay, I hope no. If later on you guys have any problem, you can always ask us. Okay, so let's go into the solving thing. So how to solve our recurrence relation? So as I have mentioned, there are many more ways. So here we will learn how to use induction. First, technique 1 is guess the solution, and try to prove it by induction. Now as you can see that guess the solution, this part is really not very clear or like really not very logical. How we can even guess a solution from some recurrence? So for now, let us try to skip that part, that how to guess the solution. We will see that thing, how we can actually guess a solution. But let us try to solve something using induction. Suppose question 1, Tn equals to 2 plus Tn minus 1, where our base case is T1 equals to 1. We want to solve this recurrence. Now, as we have mentioned that our technique is first we have to guess that solution, then prove it by induction. But now, till now we don't know how to guess, and also you don't know how to guess. So suppose I have guessed the solution for you. So my guess is 2n minus 1. Now, can we prove that? Can we prove that Tn equals to 2n minus 1 for all n using induction? Can we do that?
No, it will be some of the events.
Some of the events. Why? Why?
It will be, I think, because T1 is odd. So
Oh yes, it is T1 is on. Yeah.
So basically here, first of all, you actually don't need to worry about anything, because here what I have asked you that can you prove that thing? Okay, why not? Because okay, let us try. So okay, again, while we are doing something using induction, we have to keep something some thing in our head, that we have to mention that first what is the thing what we are inducting on. So in this case we are inducting on n, and the base case is T1. So T1 is 1, we are given with that, and this is basically nothing but 2 into 1 minus 1. So this goes with our relation that we wanted to prove, that Tn equal to 2n minus 1. So base case is true. Now what is induction hypothesis? Induction hypothesis is that we make actually, suppose this is true for some n, and here goes our inductive step. So here we want to prove that Tn plus 1. Now look at that, we somehow want to use that inductive step here, right? So for using the inductive step, what we can do, you first reduce that relation using our recurrence. So what was our recurrence? Our recurrence was 2 plus Tn. So if I go into the previous, yeah, that you can see this is our recurrence. So we just have used this recurrence here. Using recurrence relation. Okay. Now you use just the induction hypothesis, 2n minus 1. So this thing becomes 2n plus 1 minus 1. So this is by induction hypothesis. So this is what we wanted to prove, right? So are we done? Is this 2n minus 1 or 2n? Okay, yeah, 2n minus 1. Okay, so do you have any problem here?
No.
So once someone is guessing the answer for you, guessing the solution for you, I think it's not a big deal to check using the induction. I hope you are you agree with mine. I hope. I don't know, but yeah, guessing the solution is the, I think, the most difficult part. So suppose let us try to see another example. N plus T n minus 1, where T1 is 1. So Any guess?
N square. N
N
into n
square.
minus 1 by 2.
Very good, very good. Okay, so someone says that n into n minus 1 by 2. Yeah, that was actually what I was also going to say. But yeah, for the sake of calculation, this should be easier to take n into n plus 1 by 2. And so can you guys verify this using induction? I am not going to do this thing. So using induction, verify that this case is true or not. So this is verified by yourself. Okay. So should I stop here? Do you guys have any problem in this thing? Okay, let's move forward. So here I have another example. How any guess here?
2 to the power n minus 1.
Okay, okay. So I think yeah, everybody knows that answer, 2 to the power n minus 1. So how are you guessing here? Hello?
Actually, this is the tower of Anui's recursion,
Right,
probably.
right. And then how you are guessing actually the solution?
First of all, I knew it previously, but if we continue in the lines of this,
Yeah.
by recursion tree method also, we can get it.
Right. So yeah. So let us try to see how we are guessing basically. So your friend guessed that solution that 2 to the power n minus 1, and for the previous solution also they had some cases. So let us try to see how to guess. So there is many way to guess some problem. Okay, what is this? Yeah. So one way is unfolding the definition. So unfolding the definition means that your friend already have mentioned that you just unfold the definition recursively. That is, so suppose this was our first problem, 2 plus tn minus 1, and here t1 minus 1 equal to 1. So unfolding the definition means 2 plus here in terms of tn minus 1, you can recursively like unfold this thing also. If you are unfolding these things, this will become 2 plus tn minus 2. So in the next step, this will become 2 plus 2 plus 2 tn minus 3. And after case step, that will become 2 plus t n minus k. Here k number of 2's. So how many steps you can reduce this thing? So here note that term first that was n minus 1, then that become n minus 2. So basically you were reducing that term. So how many steps you can reduce? So how far you can go?
T1.
Right. So we can go until these things become T1. So here again some dot. 2 plus T1. So there we have basically n minus 1 thing. So 2 into n minus 1 plus T1. We already know T1 is 1. So these things becomes 2n plus 1. Okay, my guess was I think wrong. That should be 2n plus 1. Okay, sorry about that, but yeah. So that is similar that we have guessed earlier. But can someone say that what is wrong in this problem? Why we can't say just by doing this? Why we can't say that this is the solution of our recurrence? this should be the solution of our recurrence, because we have done nothing, just we have used that recurrence to unfold the whole thing. But this is not the end of our problem. Why so?
Ma'am, it will be 2n minus 1 only.
Oh, right. Sorry. Very sorry. Hmm. Very sorry. So we can see that our previous case was actually right. So by unfolding this, we have got our previous case. Now, my question is, why this is not the complete solution of our problem? Why in this way why you just can't do this thing? You just unfold the definition and you can't say that that is the solution of our problem. Why so? Anyone? Think. You are right. You are reading induction things. Why we can say that anything that holds for n just by doing this? Why?
It may like not hold for all natural numbers because we are going from n to n minus 1.
Right. So here, so you can say that thing for some smaller steps, but whenever you like want to say something holds for all n, then obviously you have to apply induction. Without induction, you can't say that, because here you can see that we have some dot things in our step, right? So we don't know what actually things are like going here, and that's all. So if you want to say something holds for all n, so you want to say that Tn equals to 2n minus 1 for all n, you if you want to say that, you of course you have to apply induction to claim your to prove your claim, right? And this is just the way that unfolding the definition is just the way how you are guessing the problem. This is just a way to guess your problem. Is this fine? Anybody have any question?
So
Yeah.
ma'am, if something, suppose we have some problem to prove
Yeah.
using recursion or
Okay.
recurrence relation, so
Okay.
we need to first guess it using back substitution, and then we need to prove it via induction.
If you can do that. So at the starting I have said that we have different type of recurrence, and there is many more ways to solve a recurrence. You will see those ways to solve a recurrence in your course, and you will like eventually you will learn that in which of the recurrence you can actually do this, that unfolding the definition and solve that thing using induction. And there is some recurrence where you cannot apply this technique, but
Uh,
in our case this is making no problem, because that all that thing, that Tn minus 1, Tn minus 2, these things are natural number, right? So you can here apply the recurrence. That is why we are getting the right solution. Yeah, go ahead.
Ma'am,
so is
if
this the complete proof? So can we say that using back substitution for some problems, it can be a complete proof?
Yeah. This is the complete proof that we are doing here. Therefore, at least for that recurrence, whatever we have done, first unfold the definition, then prove your guess by induction. Then we will do here an induction, complete induction. Then you are done. This is a
So
complete.
so induction needs to be done here, right?
Yeah.
We cannot stop there.
No. Yeah, that's what I am like saying right now. That you cannot say just doing this thing, you cannot say that this is the solution. You of course have to do the induction after that. I'm just
Ma'am, can you give some, some example or maybe analysis why we cannot stop at back substitution? I mean, we are going step by step towards the base case, and we have derived that expression 2n minus 1.
Yeah.
So, I mean, why it can be wrong and we need to prove it via induction?
So like when you were introduced with the induction things, what you have learned. So when you are going to prove anything for n, anything on n, that natural number, there is some induction, right?
Right.
So here the point is here exactly the thing we are doing here, that is not the finite thing. N is for an in general n that we are claiming here, that Tn equals to 2n minus 1. So here many things can happen inside this. So on top of my head right now I cannot think of any example, but if you like spew with something this example, and you will eventually come up with some wrong answer. This is for sure. And officially you have to, when you are going to prove something on n, then you need to do induction. And that I think I can say you some example. Yes, I have to think of I can send the example later also, and you also try. I think you will you can also come up with some example. Just try to message that part here somehow, and you can somehow prove that this thing with a wrong answer also. So am I making any point?
Yeah, yeah. Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
And someone else was asking any question.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, I was asking that we have means does it is necessary if we are given question in assignment, is it necessary to do that back substitution thing always? Means can we do a direct guess and then prove by induction? Means because we have
Yeah.
many other methods. Means
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Absolutely okay. If you can guess doing anything, you are absolutely welcome. But the induction is the most important step. You cannot
Okay.
you cannot skip this. I think you understand whatever you are asking. You already said that I will
Yeah.
guess anyway, then I will solve it by induction. This is
Yes.
absolutely okay. Just guess it anyway. Who cares?
Thank you.
Okay, so I hope this is clear. So anyone else has any question? Here? Okay. If no,
I got disconnected for some time, so
yeah. So, see, come again. Hello. Someone was saying
I
something.
got disconnected in between for some time.
Okay. So
I don't
okay. So
know what to say.
what do we what do you need to like repeat again?
And after that TN part of that tower of another one. After that, what was done?
That thing.
Like 2 plus dot dot plus 2 plus T1 and plus n minus 1. This one okay, but after that.
So yeah, so you understand how you are guessing the solution. You just unfolding the definition and you then guessing the solution.
Yes,
And
that
then
I've got. After that
you have
I
to
lost the connection.
after that you have to apply induction to prove that this holds for all n. That is what we were talking until now. That why induction is necessary, because you just doing this, you cannot say that this is your solution, because here you want to claim something for n, and here is some dot part. Here what you are doing, that you are just guessing. Your guess have to make your official by doing induction. Just here do a complete induction step. Fine. Do you understand?
While unfolding the definition,
Yeah.
like we are not making any random guess. So,
No.
like, is induction necessary if we unfold the definition?
Come again.
Like, is induction necessary if we unfold the definition, because we are not making a blind guess?
Yeah. Induction is necessary because you are not making any blind guesses. But how many steps you have taken here? Do you have any idea? Because you are calculating for larger and larger n. So for the finite case, things always behave nicely. But when things become larger and larger, so things become like sequence and that kind of stuff. Of course, becomes like that behaves weirdly. That can go anywhere else and that make anything else. So here you are not guessing any random stuff. That is okay. But whatever you are doing, or how much step you are going, or what is going on here, you really don't know. This is just a way of guessing things. Whenever, so I think when you have learned induction, you already learned that whenever you try to prove anything, any relation for n or anything holds for a general n, anything holds for a general n, what you supposed to do? If the thing is very much obvious, then also what you supposed to do? You are supposed to apply induction, right? I think you have learned this,
Yes, ma'am.
right? So yeah,
Yes,
so
ma'am.
suppose someone saying that 2n is an even number. This is okay. This is very basic thing. Everyone can say that 2n is even number. So if you are not saying that using induction, someone is not going to say you why you have not used induction, right? But okay, when you are claiming this, there is induction inside this. You have to induct these things. So like you maybe skipped that one, but okay, officially there are induction and you have to do induction. Okay, and in our case, whenever we are solving a recurrence, that is not very obvious part. So solutions are not very obvious, so you have to of course use induction. That is actually the most important step that your friend have already asked, that when you are guessing the solution, you are doing the unfolding stuff or anything else, or you are doing guessing somewhere else. Actually that should not matter much, how you are guessing that part. What matters that you have to establish your guess, otherwise this is not official. Okay, this makes sense.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, yeah. So let us go forward with our second question. I think you guys, the recurrence we have here, like 1, 2. In 2, we had the recurrence that Tn equals to n plus Tn minus 1 and T1 equal to 1. Just unfold the definition and try to guess the recurrence. Let me do that Hn problem. Hn equals to 1 plus 2 Hn minus 1 and H1 equals to 1. Now if we are unfolding this, 1 plus 2 Hn minus 2. So these things become 1 plus 2 plus 2 square Hn minus 2. Okay, I am doing anything wrong in the calculation, please shout out, because yeah, I am also not very good in doing this calculation. 1 plus 2h n minus 3. So here we get 1 plus 2 square plus 2 cube h n minus 3. So after some step, we will see 1 plus 2 square plus 2 to the power n minus 1 and here h1. And we know that h1 equals to 1. So we can just put the value here that h1 equals to 1. So this is nothing but GP series. So this thing is 2 to the power n minus 1. So okay, this is our right guess, that your friend already have said that this is the recurrence for Hanovер problem. And what I have asked you guys to look at in the Google and try to come up with the recurrence by yourself. But here you already have like mentioned the recurrence and also the solution. So here is the guess. Then what you have to do, the most important step, proof by induction. Okay. So until now we have learned that how to guess a problem, and how to establish our guess by induction. So anyone have any problem in this part? Hello.
No, ma'am, it's okay.
No, ma'am.
Okay, fine. So let's go forward. Now that what I have already mentioned, that guessing or unfolding the decision always may not work. So for example, let us try to look at some example. So here I have a sequence that if 1 equals to 1, if n equals to f of n minus 1 and f n minus 2. Can anyone say that? What is this? I think you guys know that.
Fibonacci series.
Yeah, Fibonacci series. Very good. So this is Fibonacci. So yeah, one of the very well-known and most popular thing. So can you guess something by unfolding this decision? Anyone?
It will be exponential actually.
No, not really. At least from here we cannot see that this is exponential. This is just addition of the previous two terms. But let us take some time and try to unfold this thing. So f n minus 1 is f n minus 2 plus f n minus 3, and here if n minus 2, unfolding this we will get f n minus 3 plus f n minus 4. So okay, minus 2 plus 2 f n minus 3 plus f n minus 4. You can do some more steps. So what your friends were already mentioning at when we have started already the guessing part. So here what we try to do that we try to identify some pattern. But in this case, when you try to unfold by decision, by definition, you really you really don't get any pattern. So that using that pattern you can guess that solution. Also, if here I mention the solution look like 1 by root 5. I think many of you guys already know that. If I am writing that expression down, please let me know. 1 minus root 5 by 2. Yeah. So this is the solution for Fibonacci sequence. Now, looking at that solution, you can realize that this is really not very easy thing to come up with. I think you will agree with me. So this thing is really not looking easy. At least this is not really looking easy to me. So to come up with some guess. And anybody can you guess that type of solution? Okay, here we have one example that we have seen that we really don't have any pattern. That's why we cannot guess. And we can see actually some more examples. Suppose take that example. Tn equals to T of n by 2 plus 1. And the base case is T1 equals to 1. Here we don't have any nice case. Why? Why? Anyone? You guys have guessed the previous problem very nicely. So, what should be the guess here?
Log of n.
Yeah, can you say, repeat again?
Log of n.
Log of n.
Oh, okay, log of n. And how do you guess log of n?
If we again unfold it like the previous ones, at some time it will end, and that point will be when n equals to 2 to the power means n by 2 is actually 1. So
Okay.
there will be log case steps.
Okay. So two of your friends says that this should be log n, but yeah, okay. Here I say that they are wrong. Let us try to see why they are wrong. First, one thing I want to mention here that answer should be log n, but something of log n. We will see that thing later. Just when we will go forward. First thing that what is this thing? Here you have a ceiling function, right? Here anybody is like that? They don't know like ceiling or floor function, then I should mention that this is ceiling and this is floor. Everybody knows that. What is this?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, okay, okay. So okay, so that n by 2, that is ceiling of something. So how you are actually guessing that thing, that n by 2, how you are reducing from that part, that n by 2? So because we have that ceiling here, for that ceiling actually you cannot guess that thing correctly, but like exactly what we say, that exact case, you can't do that
Okay, okay.
here. First thing, and suppose I have like now removed the ceiling part also, so suppose now my problem becomes here. And but yeah, those who have said login, you are absolutely right. You will see the later, but your that exact case is not right. What I'm trying to say here, mention here, that if I have now made that problem like this, then also you cannot guess, like you cannot unfold the definition. Why? Because, so suppose this is first step, then second step, what you try to write, you try to write down this thing again in term of this recurrence, right? But you cannot actually do that, because who said that this is again an integer? Do you really know? Do you have any assumption or something? Someone says that this is integer? No, never, because the next step you are going to write some n by 4 plus 2. Then next step, at the next step you will try to write some n by 8. But who says that things are actually, okay, what is this? Okay, who said that things are actually integer? You don't know that are integer or not, right? And until or unless you don't know what is that inside thing, that is integer or not, you cannot actually apply the recurrence. Am I clear?
Ma'am,
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
ma'am, but this can be done, the second problem.
How?
Ma'am, this is similar to the complexity of binary search. So we can do it like t of n by 2 plus 1. In the next step, we have t of n by 2 square plus 2. And similarly, if we go on for k steps, it will be t of n by 2 to the power k plus k.
That is not my point. So when you are proving things for binary search, so yeah, let me say.
We
So
assume n to be a perfect power.
hello, actually I cannot hear you. Your voice was lagging. Can you repeat? Hello.
I was saying that we can prove this if n, we assume n is a perfect power of 2.
Very good, very good. That is the point, because that who we were mentioning that thing is similar that we do in binary search, or yeah, not only binary search. Here we can see the recurrence of merge sort or some other things also. When proving that thing, they are basically using some asymptotic notation. I will go into this thing in today's class, but yeah. So this is not that exact solution, not that exact solution. Here what we are talking about, here we haven't used anything asymptotic here, right? We are here talking about some exact thing, that you can write something like tn equal to something. This is but when you are trying to say write down that tn equal to something, that is exactly not the asymptotic thing. So you cannot actually guess that thing nicely from here. So when you have things like that, okay, where things go? Yeah, yeah. So whenever you have things like that, so because you don't know that inside thing is integer or not at all, just by like casually you you cannot unfold that thing. That is what my point is. You need to make some assumption, and there is different way how we are going to attack this problem. But why actually casually you just cannot reduce that stuff like before we have done it. Is that point clear to you?
But if this relationship is given, then it must be true for any n, or the relationship is not true.
This is true for any n, but my point is, who is going to say you that n by 2 is a natural number?
Yeah, but if we replace it by some other, say n by 2 on the right side, and I mean Tn by 2 equal to Tn by 4 plus 1, then this also should be true, or the one who has given this relationship has given something wrong.
No, that is not the point. So when you are in general solving a problem, you want to solve for all n. You don't really want to solve when n equals to 2 to the power some 2 to the power k. You don't want to do that. What's going on with that pen here? Okay, so yeah, here what you want to do, that you want to solve that thing for all n. You don't want to do for some particular n. What you are saying, that what you are claiming, that you possibly here just replace, you are saying that you here replace by 2n, then that will be an integer. But that is not our point, because sometimes you suppose here replace some 2 to the power kn. That is not my point. You can do that, but after some reduction, you have to reduce that n also. When you are dividing n by something, this may not be an integer, right? This is my point. And if this is not an integer, how you are going to apply this recurrence thing? You are saying that recurrence is wrong. No, recurrence cannot be wrong. Recurrence is a general thing you have defined. Now you have to find out the way that when you are unfolding, this is not an official way, that you cannot say that that thing is true for n. That means that thing has to be true for n by 10. That is not the way of doing these things. But like this will be true for n by 10, but n by 10 is may not be an integer. Then how you are basically reducing that stuff? So when you are reducing, what you are doing, you are like using that recurrence again and again. But if that inside thing is not an integer, you cannot use that recurrence again and again. That is my point. If anybody have some question, you come up again, so we can try to discuss here that point here.
If in this case, if n equals to 5, then the recurrence will be t of 5 equals to t of 5 by 2 plus 1. So in that case, is the recurrence defined?
Let me write this down. Yes, say, come again.
If n equals to 5,
N equals to 5. Okay. N equals to 5. Yeah,
then the recurrence will become t of 5 equals to t of 5 by 2 plus 1.
Mm-hmm. Oh, what's going on here? Okay, 1 minute. I don't know why. Yeah, then you are saying that t of 5 equals to
5 by 2.
Yeah, so 5 by 2, and that is not defined, right? Hello, that is your question. That is
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So here my point is, you don't know what is t by 5 by 2. So I am not saying that is not defined. I am saying that how you are going to actually from that 5 by 2, how you are going to replace that whole that recurrence things again. Can you do that?
If n equals to 5, then what is t of 5 by 2 like?
We already don't know that what is t by 5 by 2, and if you want to like replace from there, then how you are going to unfold? That is my question.
Also, I think at last we have to reach T1 that we cannot reach.
Yeah, that is also a point. But yeah, from here you say that this is 5 by 2. This is fine. This is fine. But you don't know how to find that t of 5 by 2. You really don't know what to do with this. Where you can go from, where you can reach from this part. Do you know that? like we will know later, but this is not my point. But at least from here you cannot unfold by definition. That should be clear, because this
So
is
in
not
this,
an
so in these two cases, we cannot make a guess.
not these two cases, there will be many more cases for which we cannot make the guesses. So here the point is not the guesses. Here we are talking about that unfolding the decision. Can you unfold the decision from here? You cannot unfold the decision from here. Unfold the definition, sorry, unfold the definition from here. Can you unfold the definition from here? You cannot do that. That is my point. So whenever you have some,
Why not t 5 by 4 plus 1?
why not t 5 by, come again, t 5 by 4
4 plus 1.
Okay, then what should I do with that?
T 5 by 4 plus 1. Like,
Okay, you are saying that you are suggesting that from here you reduce like that, t 5 by 4 plus 1. You are suggesting that.
yes.
Okay, so look here.
Yes.
What were our induction? Our induction, what were our recurrence? Our recurrence was Tn plus T of n by 2 plus 1. Now, what is this thing on which you have defined this whole part? You have defined for n belongs to natural number. When there is an n, you can
Okay,
unfold
okay.
it like that. Can you do that? Am I clear now?
Yes, yes.
And for the others?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So yeah, if you later have like again any problem, we can talk about that thing again. No problem. Okay. What is this? Yeah. So let us try to see. Yeah. So many times before, one of your friend suggested that why don't we take n equals to 2 to the power k? This is a very good suggestion. Why don't we take n equals to 2 to the power k, where k belongs to natural number? Now, here the point is, when we cannot guess the exact solution, the first question to ask, can we guess the solution? For some in, not all in. Like we already have seen that we cannot guess the solution for all in, but can we guess the solution for some in? Yeah, of course, yes. Because from here, what was our problem? We don't know when we are dividing by 2. We don't know if that thing is integer or not. Now, what if we just remove that case? We have taken n equals to some 2 to the power k that you guys have suggested before. So for that we can actually do that unfolding the definition stuffs, right? That should be not any there should be no problem from here, right? If we take n equals to 2 to the power k, then we will do that stuff. N by 2 plus, was that our, yeah, that is our definition. So from there, okay, that will be interesting. Let's make here n. So unfolding this, what you will get? N by 4 plus here n by 2. No, I want to make that thing different. Let us make that thing different. Okay, I am solving here a different recurrence. Please don't get confused. I'm just added here. I have added here a 2 and here an n. So that n will be interesting to see at the last. If that n is necessary, what I'm trying to prove here. So let us see. Yeah, so if there was one that we can also solve, that will be the easier case. That's why I have put it here one n. So here is 2n and no, that should be 2 square. So again that will be 2 cube t of n by 8 plus 3n, and you will just reduce some step, and after that you will see that there will be some 2 to the power k t of n by 2 to the power k plus k. So we cannot reduce after that step because we have taken that n equals to 2 to the power k. So when here like n by 2 to the power k we have, so that things, that inside things becomes basically 1. So here 2 to the power k equals to n, and t of 1 equals to, we already had our base case, that is 1. I should have written here that base case 1 plus k n. So here our solution is so here what we are getting, that n equals to k plus 1. Now what is k? What is k? K is basically log base 2n. This is fine. This is fine. So yeah, if anybody have any confusion, please ask me. Log 2n plus 1. So this is the final thing we are getting here. Now anyone can say why this is the not the solution of our problem? Anyone?
Because we guessed n is n for some power of 2 and we
Right.
need for all n.
Right. So here what we are doing something for some particular n. We are doing for some n equals to 2 to the power k. We have not done that thing for all n. But guessing n equals to 2 to the power k, what we got, that we got something n into, we got something like that, n into log base 2 n plus 1. Now from here, can you guess some upper bound or lower bound? So upper bound or lower bound means, can you prove something like that? Suppose some 2n log base 2n and tn greater than equal to n by 2 log 2n. Can you prove that two things? This is 1 and this is 2. So actually we can. We just, what you will do for proving 1 and 2, what we have to apply? What should we use?
Induction again.
Yeah, just using induction. Using induction, we can prove that relation 1 and 2. But the point is, why I am like suddenly going to prove thing like that. So the point is, you have guessed the solution for some classes of n, but you don't know the solution for all n. But while you have guessed the solution for some classes of n, you actually know that the solution should be something nearer to that. Like that solution should be something like approaching to that thing. So here what we try to do some give some lower bound and upper bound of that solution. And here if you are looking at that, you can see that here the thing is the difference between that upper bound and lower bound thing. So what we are trying to prove here, n by 2 log base 2n less than equal to tn less than equal to 2n again log 2 base n. So the difference between upper bound and lower bound is a constant, nothing but a constant. So there is like there is no specific choice of that 2. So I have taken here 2. Your friend can take here 3, or some of your friend can take here 10 also. That is not the point. The point is, we want to prove something like sandwich, that 2 bound, and the solution of tn lies between these 2 bounds. And these 2 bounds, actually you can see that they differ by a constant of like a constant like a 4, right? Now, when we are solving the problem for larger and larger n, we really do not we really don't bother about that constant part. We don't care what was the constant. Okay, what we try to do, we try to actually solve the get some good upper bound and lower bound. Now, if we can give a get good upper bound and lower bound, this is from where the concept or of that asymptotic bounds things comes. So your friends have already mentioned that the solution should be something log n of some problem, and of some problem they have said that the solution should be n log n. The solutions are basically nothing but there are some asymptotic notation, like where they have seen that problem they also have seen that solution contains some asymptotic notation. So this is not exactly the exact solution. So what should be there, that in that solution there are some constant, there should be some constant. This is not that exact thing that you can write that something like that tn equals to l log n. This is not things like that. There should be some constant here, and this is how your friends are saying that solution. Yeah, that solution is perfectly, that should be n log n. That previous problem what we have started with, that should be that previous thing when that second term was where there was no n, there was one. That solution should be of course for that problem, that solution should be of course log n, but there should be some notation here, and should be some constant here. That notation basically absorbs that constant. So that is what we say that asymptotic notation. So let us try to say what do we mean by asymptotic notations. Do you guys have any idea what is asymptotic notations? Anyone? I think you know that. You already know algorithm. You know what is big O, what is big omega, what is asymptotically equivalent. You know that, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, if you for the sake of completeness, let us try to mention that thing here again. So what is, okay, what is this? Yeah, so there is one thing that we call big O. So big O, suppose we have two functions f and g. The domain of that function is n, and the range can be natural number, real number. Now we will say that f belongs to big O of g if and only if there exists some natural number in and some constant. C and D greater than or equal to 0, some positive constant, such that f is basically fx less than or equal to c into gx plus d for all x greater than or equal to n. So what do we mean by here? So f is basically less than of some constant factor of the function gx. And why we need that n? Because we don't care if we skip some small part of n. So we really don't care if this thing doesn't hold for some of the small n. Like, we don't care. So if we try to draw that function, okay, so suppose this is fx, so the cgx should be like that, that is c into gx. So the original gx can be, suppose here, the original gx can be suppose from here, this is the original gx. Now when you are multiplying by some positive constant, that gx becomes cgx here, and this cgx is basically less than a for some small part here. That here you can look that for some smaller part, basically if our definition is violating, we really don't care. What we care, that we got some n, and after that n, that function fx is bounded by that function cgx. And if of course if you are adding d, then you get yeah, some like translation from here. That's not a big deal, but this is the whole thing. And the small o notation, like no, not really small o, that big omega notation is basically just the opposite to that thing. So we will say that G belongs to like small omega of f, again if these things like happens. So Gx basically greater than equal to C of fx plus d for some n greater than equal to some n dash. What is this? And for some constant c and b greater than equal to 0. So this is for the upper bound. So if is upper bounded, some constant multiplication of g. Okay, I have written this thing completely opposite here, but yeah, this thing whatever we are writing here, that is basically by that we are saying that that thing is like this thing is upper bounded. The here what we are writing here, this thing is upper yeah, lower bounded by some constant factor of that function. The function is inside here. So you guys have any question from here, this part? Or this is fine? Yeah, like these things should be clear because you were like using that things every now and then. Yeah. Okay.
Yes,
Yeah. Okay, this is clear, right? Okay. I hope this thing is clear. So let us try to move forward. What should I say here? Okay. Let us. Okay. So you should try to prove that theorem if the thing is clear. You can do it like later. Fx belongs to big O gx if and only if gx belongs to big omega fx. So I think you can prove that, and if you can prove that, yeah. So this follows from the definition from that big O and big omega part. And have you guys lost or were like you were getting this? I don't know because this is very important part. If somebody have any problem here, you can like just stop me and ask. Are you guys there? Yeah, people are there. Okay, I hope people are understanding. So, okay, what do we mean by asymptotically equivalent? Anyone? Anyone?
Both the graphs are having same curvature.
Both the graphs are having same curvature. Okay, okay. So here basically the asymptotically equivalent means so both the things are yeah, asymptotically equivalent. That we have already seen what is asymptotic notations and asymptotically equivalent. So you are proving when you are proving that asymptotic equivalent things, what you are proving that fx by gx, that two function is asymptotically equivalent. Two functions are asymptotically equivalent if and only if limits tends to infinity fx by gx equal to 1. So these two things, that fx and gx things are equal. So when we are saying that two functions are equal, what we are proving that? We are proving that fx equal to gx for all x. But in case of asymptotics, what we have we have given some we have loosened some condition, because here we don't need for all x. We can take x greater than equal to n. That is one thing. Here we don't need to hold these things. We can take that thing like that c of fx equal to some say dash of gx, we can take some multiplication of some positive constant. So we have we have loosened this condition, and we have also we don't need that whole equality thing. We can take any constant multiple also. So this is what the general equivalent, that is when we say two functions are equal. That is something different when we are saying that asymptotically equivalent, but the concept is kind of similar. And you will be needing these things every now and then when you will move forward. And here one thing I again forgot to mention, that what is theta notation. So theta notation means when fx belongs to O of gx, and also fx belongs to omega of gx, then we will say that fx basically asymptotically yeah, fx belongs to theta of gx. So here the theta of gx means a tight bound. So asymptotically tight bound, because fx is lower bounded by the function gx, and fx is upper bounded by the same function gx. So together we can say that fx is tightly bounded by the function gx. This is what do we mean by theta notation. And okay, here we have some more notations, that small o and small omega. You can see that thing from the book Corman, and also the notes of Laszlo Babai that Sir has uploaded that notes, I think, in the web page. You can follow that asymptotic part from there, and they are written very nicely, and they are that they contain with some good examples and exercise also. Do you know what is Starling approximation? What is Starling approximation? Anyone?
No, ma'am, don't know.
So a Starling approximation, I think you have seen, right? Okay, no problem. So Starling approximation is the way we are approximating that n factorial. This is very standard thing. So Starling gave that approximation, and this is not exactly very obvious thing. So this thing, when you take n tends to infinity, this thing becomes 2 pi n by e whole to the power n. This is Starling approximation. This is very important stuff, and yeah, you will I think you will get some exercise from here also. And this is one thing I wanted to mention. And the another thing is prime number theorem. What is that? Anyone? So prime number theorem basically says that the number of primes less than n is equivalent to n by log n. This is again another very famous theorem, and that example of what we mean by asymptotically equivalent. Yeah, so whenever you are going to approximate something, so when you are solving that recurrence relation later, in many cases you will need to approximate things. So that's why we are here learning, trying to learn that asymptotic notations here, so that we can just use that reduce that stuff easily, and we can use that asymptotic notations here. Now, so let us come back to the our recurrence part here. So here there may be some cases when we are not exactly guessing the solution, that I already have mentioned. So what we can do that there? So one thing is okay. So one thing is to guess the exact solution. That is, we don't know how to do, but we always cannot do that. The second option is, if we cannot do that, suppose your the recurrence was some min and there was something. Then you try to prove that min is asymptotically equivalent to something. This is second option. Then third option, if you cannot prove asymptotically equivalent, then at least try to come out with some function such that min is equivalent to that function gives the tight bound, that is theta of something. Now, if you cannot do that thing also, then what we try? We try to give some upper bound and some lower bound. So, okay, I should not write here that asymptotic things. Very sorry, very sorry. I should have write here. Yeah. And there is some lower bound. So do you guys like getting why we are here basically trying to learn that asymptotic notation? Because when while solving the recurrence, when we cannot give that exact solution, then we try to prove some upper bound, lower bound, that kind of stuff. Now sometimes that upper bound and lower bounds will give you some thing that gives you actually the tight bound, then you are getting theta. Sometimes you will get a function that actually you can prove that that is asymptotically equivalent, and in the worst case when you cannot do that, you just try to give some upper bound and lower bound. Now if upper bound and lower bound that differs very much, then actually you cannot make them together to give theta also. So are you getting my point? Anybody have any question from here?
Ma'am, I think point 3 and 4 will cover point 2.
Point 3, actually no, I am not point 3 and 4, I'm not going to I'm not trying to say together. So sometimes look, sometimes it can happen that, so that upper bound part, okay, so sometimes you have like you are able to prove something like that, okay, and you are able to prove something like that. Now these two things never together going to give you 0.3, right? Because these things are together, these things won't give you the tight bound, something that you can write inside theta, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So this is different. This is the worst case when actually you cannot do that. But okay, if you suppose somehow like able to come up with this thing, here is 3 and here is half of log n squared, then okay, then in this case you can actually go to case 3, right? You can actually try to prove image is theta of something, theta of n square, right? So of course, in this process again we will be needing induction. So for that, let us try to take some exercise, and I'm not going to solve this. You solve this. So yeah, later on you try to solve this. Suppose Bn equals to B of n by 2 plus 1 and B of 1 equals to 1. Now try to solve this. Bn equals to theta of log n. Now, how do you solve this theta of log n? First of all, you somehow have taken n equals to 2 to the power k and you have guessed some part and done all those things. And then to solve this part, you always have to break this thing in two parts. Bn less than equal to some c of c into log n, and Bn is greater than equal to some d of log n, where c or d is some constant greater than equal to 0. And you have to do induction here, and you have to do another induction here to prove that. Now, this should be clear that you cannot actually apply induction here. You cannot apply induction on asymptotic notation. You always keep in mind that you cannot apply induction on asymptotic notations. So why so? Here we have very interesting example that actually uses the idea of merge sort. to prove something wrong when you are inducting on asymptotic notations. So I don't. Should I give the example today, or we should stop here? Still, I'm connected till now. Hello.
Yes, ma'am, we can stop if you wish.
No. I'm asking that should I give that example where you cannot use that induction on theta thing or O or omega thing? So yeah, or you can just think of some examples. Let us take this an exercise. Give an example where applying induction on asymptotic notations, you have proved something wrong. Yeah, so in the next day, you definitely, anyone who is taking the class or yeah, so possibly the sir will come. You can ask that example, if you have solved by yourself, that is fine. Okay, so yeah, there actually there we can form many examples where when you are doing the induction things on asymptotic notation, that will actually take you to some wrong solution. So you have to always keep in mind whenever you are doing if you wish to prove something if you wish to prove something like that, suppose if you wish to prove something like that, then you have to first break that thing into some c into log n for some constant c, then apply induction to prove that. Similarly for omega and similarly for other things. Don't ever try to apply induction on that like asymptotic notations. Yeah, here we have some example. And okay, the final one exercise I want to give here, that t1 equals to 1 and tn equals to big O n plus tn by 5 plus t of phi mn by 10. So first of all, for solving this recurrence, first step, what should be the first step? Anyone? This is just the wrapping up, whatever we have learned. Just we wrap up here. Anyone? What should we do here?
Means you are trying to solve it by which method?
I don't know. Any method you like to solve here? You
Ma'am,
can.
you have written that 5n by 10.
Yeah.
That is n by 2.
Oh, sorry. That should be 7 by 2. Sorry. Thank you. Okay. That is 7n by 2. Suppose. Yeah. Then look here. Yeah. Say come again.
Actually, in computer science, the students of computer science background already, I think, know this. It should be, I think, big O of n.
Right. No. So we are not actually talking about the solution. So how are you going to approach? That is the question.
So we can use that one, that we can guess it and then prove it using induction.
Right. So yeah, since you know, you can guess. So you help your friend how to guess that thing. Knowing is not the solution, because you know the solution of some recurrence, suppose, and then somebody is going to give some other recurrence, because just like you mess up some smaller part in that recurrence, that things becomes like one different recurrence relation, right? So knowing the solution is not actually the solution to our problem. But again, when some people is actually started to solve the recurrence with experience, they can actually guess the solution. Yeah, I agree with you that computer science students can guess that solution, yeah, way better than others. That is true. So once you have like started to solve, you already know how to guess things. But yeah, so why I have asked here that I wanted you to note that order O notation first of all. You cannot do anything from here. You have to rewrite the whole thing here in some sort of like that, some constant a n, and then try to solve it. This is the first step we should do. So nothing guess, nothing induction, nothing you should do. First, this is the step where A is a constant. This is first step you should do. Then you will just, yeah. So in our method, that basic classical method that we were trying to solve, here you cannot guess that unfolding that thing, because here we have some part that we are dividing. So take n equals to 10 to the power k, and then try to do something.
And in this case, can we write Tn equals to An or Tn less than equals to
Yeah,
An
yeah,
plus?
yeah. Sorry. Thank you. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah, we have to we have to keep that part also in mind, because here we have big O. If I have written here that omega part, big omega, then the notation is bigger. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Sorry. So yeah. So is this thing clear? So just try to put that, take that n equals to some 10 to the power k, try to guess something, and then try to prove your guess by induction. And again, that thing is, of course, you are doing this thing for summing. This is not going to be your exact solution. There should be some lower bound and upper bound, and from that lower bound and upper bound, you can come up with some tighter bound or some better solution. That's different. Okay. So is this fine with everyone?
So in this case, we have to assume that it is true for n equals to 10 per k, and then
Yeah, that's something we are doing for 2 to the power k, because there was n by 2. That reduction we have done before. Do you remember? Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. So here just I am saying that 10 to the power k, because here that 5 and 10 here. That's all. Nothing else. That is just some like little manipulation you will do here and there when you are solving these stuffs.
Ma'am, and in another recurrence relation,
Yeah.
b of n equals to that b of floor of n by 2 plus 1.
Yeah.
In that case, we will assume n equals to 2 per k and solve the recurrence, and then
Yeah. So here, so actually, what is that floor and ceiling things? That floor and ceiling thing is something less than. You can write something less than or greater than thing, right? So n by 2. What is this? Okay, n by 2 should be this less than or greater than that floor of this thing. Floor means this should be greater than, right? And ceiling means this should be less than. Is this fine? Yeah. So you can try to what we say. You can try to just rewrite that problem in this way, because here we are already allowing some constant and less than and greater than equal to part, right? Just like try to solve recurrence anyway. Any way you can do it, but the last step to adapt everything is the step of induction. Doing a very step by step and good induction, that to prove what is you are claiming. Is this fine?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So, and also one thing I want to mention, this is like very basic recurrence whatever we are looking at today, and this is not the thing actually we are solving after when we are going forward. So we will learn many more methods how to solve actually the recurrence. This is just the application of induction. Here we are looking at recurrence just as an application of induction, how we are applying induction to solve recurrence things. This is like one part what we have done here, and the other part is that asymptotic notations parts, because when we are like moving forward in our course, we need that asymptotic notations everywhere, and we should be clear about that concept. So please try to like follow that asymptotic notations from anywhere you like to, but yeah, just clear your concept. If you have any question, just yeah, ask anyone. This is fine, because this thing is very basic things, and this is like very much necessary for you. So this is not like some theorem, just you can forget, and you sometimes you are just looking at and you can remember. This is not like that. So this is some concept, basic tools you should know. That's why. Okay. So here, fine. Let us stop here. Do you guys have any question? Hello. Was I sharing anything? You can see my board at all?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. We don't have any question.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, I think okay. I suddenly thought that I haven't shared that board at all. Sorry. Okay. If you have seen that board, that is fine. Okay. Like okay, let's stop here. And yeah, then that next we have class. Okay. Yeah. Bye.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am.